All right, we're going to get started here. And I just ask that you guys keep muted until we get to the end of the video. And so I'm going to go over a few of the options here. Well, first off, my name is Kasie Harriet. I'm the R3 coordinator for the state of Oklahoma. I work for National Wild Turkey Federation and the Department of Wildlife Conservation. And we have here Lincoln County Game Warden Jacob Harriet, who is also my husband. And he will be helping me teach this class today. We're going to go over the regulations, everything. So initially, I'm going to show you about a 5-minute video that's going to go over a crash course of dove hunting, and then we're going to kind of dive in a little bit more into it. We'll talk about the biology, habitat and behavior, gear, setup, regulations, where to go to find public hunting areas to hunt, and then we will open it up to a Q&A at the end. If you guys have any questions that you think of along the way, just type them in the chat, and then I will field them at the very end of this. We'll probably have about at least 20 minutes or more of a Q&A to keep going. So I just want to start off with, I'm going to share my screen here, and hopefully you'll be able to hear this clearly. We have pretty good internet connection here, so it should be pretty clear. I'm going to share my screen and we'll watch a quick video, and then we're going to dive into the rest of it. And for any reason you can't understand it or hear it, just give me a heads up, and we'll do our best to clarify and or just stop the video and we can go into the details from there. So. There's no audio on the video. Okay, I just got an alert that there's no audio on the video, which is super unfortunate. So I'm just going to put this link in the description on the chat so you guys can go back and reference this because it's a good overall how-to video. I'm going to stop sharing here this screen, and I'm sure there's probably a way to get around that. I'm going to have to look into because that would be a really helpful video. So thank you guys. I'm sorry about the technical difficulties there. So basically that video goes into what dove need to survive out there. And so we'll just talk about that first. The dove biology, habitat, behavior. So dove need 3 things to be happy. They need water, food, and a safe place to sleep at night. So I'll let Jacob kind of go into the breakdown of that and what type of dove that we can hunt here in Oklahoma.
Okay, guys, so the main dove that we have here that are huntable, we have our mourning dove, we have our white-winged dove, and we have an invasive species. It's the Eurasian collared dove. So all those pretty much inhabit the same areas. It seems like the Eurasians and your white wings might hang out more in cities and stuff, but the mourning doves are everywhere as well. So dove, we have resident birds and then we have migratory birds. So right now, the beginning of the season, this time of year, normally it is resident birds that you're seeing. After we get some cool fronts and stuff that come in, it will actually push those resident birds south, and then it'll push birds from like Kansas and up north down to Oklahoma. So you basically are just getting new waves of birds depending on the cold fronts. It's pretty impressive. We do a pretty good banding program here in Oklahoma, and we have had some of our Oklahoma banded birds return back as far as like Panama and stuff down in South America. So they do travel a lot. They're migratory. They go down there in the winter, stay warm, and they'll come back up here in the spring and summer and live here.
As far as habitat goes, dove like tree edges. They like roost trees, so they'll roost in there overnight. They'll wake up in the morning. First thing they'll like to do is get off that roost and get some water, get some food, like we all do.
Yep. So dove are kind of bottom of the food chain. You know, they're very delicious animals, so it's a hard life out there for them. They need somewhere that they can sleep that's secure. So usually like old dead trees, even trees that are surrounded by water. Really thick cedar packs and stuff like that. Just anywhere that's pretty protected from predators. That if something, you know, tried to crawl up the tree after them, they would be alerted and they could fly away. So like Kasie said, every morning they're going to start on the roost. First thing they're going to do is hit food, water, or gravel. So the gravel is kind of an interesting thing. I've actually had some of my best hunts on gravel. So a lot of like oil field sites and just big parking lot areas and stuff where you can get permission to hunt. Those birds, they don't eat like we do. They have a crawl, and then they eat little rocks, and the crawl is a very strong muscle, and it will actually grind up the seeds and stuff that they eat. So dove thrive on early successional habitat. A lot of the stuff that you might call a weed, you know, if you're in agriculture business or something like that, they eat the seeds from those plants like croton and ragweed and a lot of stuff. I had a guy last year call me, and you can actually open the crops on the birds and see the seeds in there. And he asked me what the seeds were and if he could plant them. And it was all just native forbs, which most people call weeds. And he was like, "Well, how do I plant these?" It's like, you don't plant them. You just grow them. The seeds are not natively in the soil. It's not like, wheat you can go out there and plant. So they make their living on that early successional habitat. They don't do good in really thick treed areas, so overstocked forest, cedar tree forest, and stuff like that, where there's no sunlight on the ground. They struggle in those environments, but they often fly waterways. They will drink water quite frequently. In the evenings, it's very good to hunt over water sources, big ponds and stuff like that. But basically, they'll fill their bellies full. They'll go get some water, some gravel, and they just kind of do that cycle throughout the day.
Ag crops are also really good. Cut ag fields, cut wheat fields are also very good for dove. So a lot of time around this time of year, farmers are cutting their crops.
Yeah, we have a lot of people cutting corn and milo and stuff this time of year. And when they do that, they usually harvest the seed, but there's usually a lot left over in the field. So those birds will heavily hit those crops that have been harvested.
Yeah, and that so they roost probably 30 minutes to an hour before sunset. They start roosting.
Yeah, they'll start. I've seen them roost after it's even dark. You can't
Yeah.
see, and birds will still be flying in. But yeah, they'll start making their way back to roost in kind of the last hour or last, bit of light. They'll go to roost. But dove hunting, you can only hunt 30 minutes before sunrise, and then it stops at sunset. So there's a 30-minute period there where it's still light. It's after sunset that you cannot hunt them, and that's just to let them get on those roosts and get comfortable for the night. I've seen a lot of people just blasting away where you can see the fire coming out of their guns because it's dark, and that is illegal, and you'll get some tickets for that.
We'll go into that a little bit later, but yeah, that was pretty important for talking about how they behave at night and when you have to kind of call it quits. So we want to talk a little bit about gear and how we set up decoys, firearms, and any sort of camo you might need or equipment or etc. So dove hunting in general is pretty minimal, and you really can just go out there with a shotgun and some shells and have a great time. So that's why we really like dove hunting as like a beginner hunt for new people, because you don't need a whole lot. You don't need camo. You can talk with your buddies. You'll have multiple shot opportunities, hopefully. And it's just a good time. And it just requires very, very minimal equipment. So we can talk about the firearms needed. And we use shotguns. You can use anything from a 20 gauge, a 12 gauge, even some 410s. It's just the reach. You're going to be shooting up high and sometimes kind of far away. So you got to make sure your dove loads are appropriate. So you do need actual dove loads, dove shells that you can buy specifically for that. It's what would you say the pattern is? Just a little.
It just depends on your hunting situation. You can adapt it to wherever you're hunting at. Usually people use a very small shot size, so they'll use like 8, 7.5, 7s. There's usually the range of shotgun shell shot that you use, and that's a very small BB. The spread is usually pretty good depending on what choke you have. I kind of just play it by my hunting area. If I'm somewhere that the birds are going to be really close, I'm going to use maybe a modified or an improved cylinder choke that's going to give me a bigger spread. If I'm somewhere that those birds are going to be further away and I'm going to have to reach out there a little further, I'll use something like a full choke. You just kind of play that by ear. You can't go wrong with just most of your guns come with a modified choke. There's nothing wrong with that choke. It'll do most any situation for you. Just practice with it and get good with it. The main thing about your gear is you have to be where there's birds. So scouting comes in to practice there. So you need to know where the birds are. You can have the best gear in the world. You can have the worst gear in the world. But if you don't have any dove around, you're going to end up in the same boat, right? But as far as guns go, any shotgun is going to be sufficient. You can't use anything larger than a 10 gauge, which I've never seen anybody doing.
A lot of shots to shoot for a 10 gauge. Your shoulder would be hurting by the end of that
it
one.
would wear you out. Dove hunting is a very social hunting thing. It's great to get new people out there. You can talk, you can move. You just kind of set up in some cover, usually on the edge of a field or next to a water source or next to a gravel pit, just in some cover. If you have decoys and stuff out there, the birds usually don't mind. It's not like you have to get covered up in a ghillie suit and hide. It's not that important. Usually just set a stool on a fence line and you're in good shape.
Yeah. So part of that is the so we'll just kind of talk about like how we hunt and just like we hunt pretty minimally. I would say we have decoys, we have a stool, we have a vest, and we have our guns. And that's really, if you want to get, intermediate, like that's the amount of stuff you need. But you can take a Walmart sack out there for your dove to put them in if you wanted to. So it's really not as complicated as people can make it out to be. But what we like to do is we'll usually set up on an edge of a field where, so like our last dove hunt, we set up on a edge of a field where we had trees behind us, so the roost trees, so they were flying into the roost trees. We were it was what type of field was it?
It was a wheat field that
It
was
was
harvested in the springtime. They harvested the wheat, but a lot of seed head was left over.
yeah.
And so we hunted on the edge of that, and those birds were feeding on that wheat before they went to roost that evening.
And there was also these drainage ditches that had a little bit of water in it too. So it really had about everything you needed. So we'll talk about a little bit about decoys. So dove, like we said, they're more interested in where the other dove are. And so they're not looking for us. They're pretty unbothered by people and not camo out there. One of the best things that we found to hunt with is just if you grab 1 or 2 mojo decoys, and mojo decoys are the spinning wing decoys. And I can share my screen here on a couple different.
Yeah, there's a lot of electric decoys now, but for whatever reason, those dove really draw into the movement of those wings. So the mojo, like she was talking about, are actually a battery powered that the
Yes.
wings spin. And basically, those birds can fly. They catch that flash of wing movement, say, "Hey, there's some dove over there." Whatever they're gonna like, I'm gonna like it too. They also make, clip-on ones. And usually when I hunt, I'll put a mojo out there with some of these clip-ons around it just to make it realistic. They also make wind, like whirligig ones that are powered by the wind in Oklahoma. Sometimes that's really good. Sometimes it's not, depending on the wind. But decoys are extremely effective for dove. You absolutely do not have to have them, but it will improve your hunt to have them. I've killed a lot of dove just being where the dove want to be, especially if you find a gravel pit or a water source. If they want to be there already, the decoys aren't going to do you any good because that's where they're going. Now, if you're on the edges somewhere where they're wanting to go somewhere else, that you can pull them in with those decoys.
Yeah, they really like seeing that motion. Like how we set up in that hunt was we had a few in the tree line, but we just set those little clip-on ones in the field. Oh, I'm sorry, we're gonna have to mute you, Zach. There you go. So we just set some of those down in the field with a mojo or 2 out there to catch the attention of the dove coming in. And it was a big, broad area. And so, like Jacob said, we wanted them to come our direction. And so using that motion decoy and those other decoys shows them that that's where the dove are at. So they're going to go join the other dove because that's clearly where the food's at. So it's as simple as that, really, when it comes to dove hunting. We talked about water sources to hunt over. So ponds are really good. Out west, people hunt over guzzlers and stock tanks.
Yeah, especially in the evening times. Those are very, very effective. They usually like to get water before they go to roost at night.
Yeah. If you were going to set up an evening hunt, I would suggest if you could find water first and foremost, hunt over that with some good trees around. Because they're going to get a drink before they go up in that tree for the night.
Yeah. Another thing to think of when you're setting up for dove is where the sun's going to be. So, if you have a setting sun, you don't want to be facing west because you're going to be blinded by that sun all night long.
You're actually kind of highlighted too by the sun. It's not something that's super important, but if you're reflecting off sun, if your gun's reflecting off the glare of the sun, that's just one thing that you don't want to work with.
Yeah, and it just makes it hard to see and uncomfortable to ID those birds.
Yes.
But take that same situation, reverse it. Now your western sun is setting, you're facing to the east. Well, now those birds that are coming in are ideally flying to the west, so the sun's in their eyes. So that adds just a layer of camouflage to you, helps you be more concealed. So I usually like to have the sun on my back, whether it's morning or evening, if it's possible. Sometimes it's not, depending on the setup. But I've been on a lot of hunts that the birds were there, it looked good, but I'm staring right at the sun, and it gets pretty old pretty quick.
Yeah.
One crucial skill when you're dove hunting is being able to ID the dove. If the sun's in your eyes and you can't see really good, it's very easy to mistake a different bird as a dove, and we don't want to do that. So.
No. Some of the other gear we use is a lot of times we have like these little foldable stools that will have like a pocket below them. I know people use those, or they use those 5-gallon buckets with the spinning lids that are padded, which are really nice to sit on too. And then you can just put your dove in those. We also use vests that have like a big pocket in the back. You can hold your shells in the front and a big pocket in the back where you can put your dove too. So if we're walking a field, that's another way that we can stay mobile but still be able to store our dove and our shells.
Yep. Yeah, just something to carry your equipment out there and get it back. Those birds, the limit's 15 on them, so you can have several. So you want to have something that you can carry that efficiently. My vest is probably 50 years old, and I still use it every single year. It works great. It's just got a big pocket on the back, some shell pockets on the front. I can carry everything I need. A lot of times I take that in my gun, and that's all I need to dove hunt.
And I would like to talk about safety here and protecting your ears. You're going to be hopefully shooting your shotgun quite a bit, so having hearing protection is definitely important for that
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah, ears and eyes are super important. You don't want to be like all these old timers now that can't hear or
What?
see. So,
Yeah.
wear earplugs. They make some awesome electronic hearing stuff now that you can hear just like normal. And then when you shoot, it deadens it out. So those are a great investment. They're really not that expensive.
It's great. Jacob and I can have a whole conversation with those on. They're just like
The muffs.
the muffs, yeah. But then when it comes to your gun firing, it does not bother your ears at all. So
Yep, yep.
that's great when you're hunting with people.
Yeah, and then eye protection too. Shooting shotguns stuff can always happen. But really for gear, that's about it. Something to carry your stuff out there, something to get it back, shells, bullets. I will say on your guns, and I'll go over this in the regs too, but you can only hunt with a shotgun capable of carrying no more than 3 shells. So that's 1 in the chamber, 2 in the tube. So you have to have a plug in your gun to make sure it doesn't. And when I'm in the field checking people, I will check that and see if I can get more than 3 rounds in the gun. And that is illegal. That's actually a federal law. So
Yeah.
make sure we have those guns. Plugs are really simple. You just put them in there. It's not hard. Watch a YouTube video.
And also, if we want to talk like another step up on safety, especially if you're hunting with children or hunting in big groups where you guys have a line of hunters, it's not ever a bad idea to have an orange hat on or vest as well. Once again, you're not really worried about camo. So just having the knowing and being able to easily spot the rest of your hunters is not a bad idea too. So as far as safety goes. Okay, so now that's kind of, I would say that's really very basic overview of gear, and that's really all you need. Let's talk about regulations real fast.
Okay. So for regulations to dove hunt in Oklahoma, you need 2 things. You need just your annual hunting license, and then you need to fill out the HIP program survey. It's Harvest Information Program. It's a federal survey. It's free. Basically, all you have to do is they're going to ask you how many geese did you shoot last year? How many ducks did you shoot last year? How many gallinule did you shoot last year? And it's just a survey to do. So it doesn't cost you any money, but you do have to have it. It really helps out with kind of tracking trends of migratory birds. So it's important to do it. And then just that hunting license is all you need. Get permission on a place to hunt. You can shoot dove 30 minutes before sunrise to official sunset. You can find that on our app or online, the official sunset and sunrise times. After that, we want to make sure those guns are plugged. So you can't put more than 3 shells in them. Gamewardens will check that in the field. You also, so doves, if you're dove hunting, you do not have to have a non-toxic shot. And in most places, if you're hunting on a federal area, then yes, you do. In most places, just hunting public land or just on private land, you can use lead shot. That's very common. That's what I see. Now there is a portion of dove season that coincides with teal season and resident goose season. So if you are hunting those type of teal or geese while you're dove hunting, which I've seen pretty commonly, you cannot have that lead shot with you. So if you're hunting both, you have to have the non-toxic. But if you're just out there dove hunting, you're not trying to shoot any waterfowl, you're fine using the lead shot.
Did you mention the season dates in the December?
No, so season dates, it opens this Friday, September 1st, and it goes through the end of October.
Many people don't know that there's a whole October month. Everybody associates dove hunting with September only, but you have a whole other month. I think everybody kind of switches to deer hunting
Yeah, they
at
usually
that point.
switch over. And then also there's a second season that's December 1st through December 29th. Honestly, I have seen more dove in the last couple of years in that December season. For whatever reason, into December, there's been a lot of birds around. I don't know why that is, but I've seen a bunch of them. Usually people aren't thinking about dove hunting that time of year, but it's a great time to get out there and get after some of them. The weather's usually not so hot. The ticks aren't as bad. It's a fun time to hunt. And then your limit for dove is 15. So you can have 15 dove no matter what. Now Eurasian dove, like I said earlier, is an invasive species. So there is no limit on Eurasian dove, but you have to leave some sort of evidence of what that bird is. So either its head or its wing has to stay attached until you get to the place of final destination, and that would be your house where you'd prepare and clean the bird.
That would just be for Gamewarden to identify that you didn't go over your limit of whatever the mourning dove.
The Eurasian, or just your normal limit.
They're very
So,
similar. The Eurasian's larger.
yeah, they're
so.
bigger and they have a black collar. They're easy to identify if you know what you're looking for, but a quick Google search, you can figure out what they are, it's not a big deal. But yeah, like she said, basically if I check you in the field and you have 17 dove, well, I can look, okay, well, these 3 are Eurasian collared dove. That's good. You have the rest of them are mourning and white wing. You're completely good to go. Now, any bird hunting is tough because the birds are flying around, right, when you're shooting at them. So we want to make sure that we're good at IDing those birds. So I don't know if you guys have not dove hunted before, but our state bird, the scissortail flycatcher, really likes dove decoys, and they can be similar looking to dove. I mean, if you know what you're looking for and do a little research, it's easy to tell them apart. But a lot of scissortail flycatchers get shot at every year. Also, we have like a nighthawk is what we call them. They are in the whippoorwill family, and they're very common. Yeah, they fly similar, so you just want to make sure. And they usually come out right in the evening time. So make sure that when you're shooting at those birds, it's a dove and not a Tweety bird or one of these other birds. It is illegal to shoot one of those other birds. Now, as far as baiting goes, you cannot place grain out there for dove. Now you can hunt agricultural fields. So like we hunted that wheat field, it was planted and harvested, and then we hunted over it because the grain that was left over was due to normal agricultural practices. So you can't go dump corn or wheat seed or something out there to hunt over. But if a farmer has a property where they've cut corn and there's still grain in the field, you can hunt over that. So that's just on baiting. Be careful. I mean, don't go out of your way to put bait out there. But I've seen some wheat fields that people have harvested, and there's a lot. Like it looks like you went out there and dumped seed. Talked to the farmer. He's like, no, that's just how I did it. My machine was a little bit off. I didn't get all the seed I wanted to. That is legal to hunt over because it's a normal agricultural practice. That's about it as far as the regulations go on that. If you have questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Yeah, so we're looking at the new reg book here, and so we can just talk about this real fast. All the game wardens are passing these out around the state right now. They'll drop them off.
We just got them in. We'll take them to Walmart's, Atwoods, anywhere that's a licensed dealer. They're free to pick up. They're also online on our app. You can go on there at any time and look at the current hunting regs through the Go Outdoor Oklahoma app. It's very easy to use. You can click on hunting and click on dove, and it'll pull up everything you need to know about dove.
That's probably going to be your best bet. It's hard to have one of these on you all the time, but you have your phone on you all the time. So getting familiar with the online regulations would probably be a good call. But we're just in the migratory game bird regulation, and we're on page 45 here, and that has all of them in there. This always is on our coffee table. I don't think it's just because we work for them. I think it's pretty standard across a lot of hunting families.
I like reading paper. I don't like reading my phone.
Yeah, but yeah, this is very handy to have. So I just wanted to mention that. So before we open up to a Q&A here, I'm just going to talk a little bit about how to navigate on our website to find places to go hunt, and then find our dove resources page too. So I'm going to share my screen once again. Let's see. So our website is called wildlifedepartment.com. Very original, I know. It doesn't even say Oklahoma. It's wildlifedepartment.com, but that's our Oklahoma Department of Wildlife Conservation. And then, okay, so this is our homepage. So you would go to hunting.
I guess I could talk.
Oh, free hunting days. So yeah, we should talk about that.
The 2nd and 3rd of September are free hunting days. So you actually do not need your state license to hunt those days. It's just free. Anybody can go. Take somebody new. Just get some people out there. It's a great opportunity to get somebody into it, or they're not having to put that investment of $32 to buy their hunting license. You do still have to have your HIP permit, so make sure you fill out that free survey through the federal.
That's a federal thing, not a state thing.
But it's free. It doesn't cost you any money. Just costs you a little time. But that's a great opportunity to get out there and hunt without your license. So the 2nd and 3rd of September are free hunting days.
Yeah. Okay, so on hunting, you go down to hunting. You go to where to hunt. Pretty self-explanatory. And then we go through a list of we have all the WMAs here. We have Oklahoma Land Access Program, which is, they have a lot of great places. That's private land lease for public hunting. And so a lot of those are ag fields. They might've been cut, and we've had a lot up in central Oklahoma, like north central Oklahoma, like Ponca City, that have been great dove fields. We have our WMA interactive maps. And then our shooting ranges if you need to go pattern your shotguns and try to shoot some clays beforehand. That might be a good place to go. That's always a good thing too, is just practicing before. If you can go shoot some clays and kind of get you ready for dove. I mean, dove are kind of hard to hit. They're fast and acrobatic. So, but this would be a good place to start for here. And it goes through all of our WMAs. Most all WMAs have dove fields. And if there's a question, you always can just call your biologist, and then they can kind of tell you what the fields are planted in. And we do have an interactive map in the works right now too that will help you guys for dove hunting as well. And we should have that good to go here shortly. So there's this page right here, and then I want to go to the hunting resources page. And then you can scroll down to dove hunting right here. And this has just information about the prepared dove fields, dove hunting opportunities on WMAs. And these videos are not pulling up right here at the moment, but we have, if you click on them, it's firearm safety. That video I was showing, one of the virtual courses that I've hosted before about this topic, probably last year's course, and then how to properly pattern a proper shotgun shooting technique. And you can go into basically the dove ID, what we've talked about. There is information on additional migratory game, bird species, etc. So this is kind of like your clearinghouse for anything dove hunting right here. So those would be good places to start. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen now. And all these links that I've shared, I'm going to send an email out to all the participants in this with that link to that video, just a quick rundown, and then links to those pages I just mentioned. And then maybe if anything else I can find helpful for you guys, I'm going to link that too. And also there's some dove recipes that if you guys ever want to look at some tasty ways to eat dove after you harvest them, we have great recipes on our website as well.
Yeah, dove are delicious.
They are.
I do have a couple things, and I hate that I even have to say it, but every year it happens. It is illegal to hunt out of a motor vehicle. So every year we get some driving down the highway shooting dove off power lines. It never fails. It happens all the time. It is extremely dangerous for one, and it is also very illegal, and you're going to get in big trouble if you do it. So please, I wish I didn't have to say it, do not drive around shooting out of the vehicle. Not good. And then I did want to just talk on some safety stuff as well.
Yeah.
I kind of skipped over that. So dove hunting is very social. Usually, large group of people go out with firearms. Anytime we have a bunch of people and a bunch of guns, we have to be extra cautious, right? So just make sure of your target, what's beyond it. Every year we get people that have been shot by dove hunters. I get shot by dove hunters all the time, but it's not, usually it's just the shot falling down and it falls down and hits you. It's not their fault. It's not anybody's fault. It's just how it works when you're working other hunters in different fields and they're shooting at birds. It is a safe shot still, but that shot will fall on you. But if you get closer, that shot can still hurt you a pretty good ways away. The warden that was here before me, he actually got a BB in his eye. I think he said he was around 100 yards, and it was actually a quail hunter. But quail got up, he followed the quail, took a shot, and that BB came. One BB hit him right in the eyeball and did some pretty serious damage. So be cautious of that. If you're hunting on public land and there's a bunch of people out there, know where other people are, keep a tabs on them. If there's a shot that's like, well, I could hit that bird easily, but I'm going to be shooting it in their direction, be smart. Don't do it. No dove is worth shooting somebody over, I promise you. If you got kiddos that you're taking out there, just make sure that they're pointing those guns in a safe direction at all times. Keep the guns unloaded until you're ready to shoot. Keep the safeties on. Your finger's your primary safety, so don't put that anywhere near the trigger until you're ready to shoot. It's pretty easy. I mean, accidents happen all the time, yes, but as long as you're handling that firearm safely, you'll be in good shape. It is hot. Stay hydrated out there. Take water with you. Take some snacks with you. That early September, it can be pretty brutal in the heat out there. Some bug spray is always good with all these tick-borne illnesses, stuff that we're having now. Wear some bug spray. It's an awesome time to get out, see some beautiful sunsets, and get after some dove. That's about it on safety. You guys have any questions, let me know in case you'll.
Yeah, we're just going to open it up to a Q&A now, this is such a small group. If you guys just want to unmute yourselves and ask you any questions that you guys might have, we will just talk amongst ourselves. Like we did a great job. Guess we covered everything.
Yes, so. Well, as you guys think about questions, I'll just kind of run you through what a contact with a game warden looks like during dove season. So usually, it's hard to hide when you're dove hunting because you're shooting a lot, hopefully, if you're in a good spot. So normally we'll come out, we'll find some groups hunting. We usually watch for a while, kind of gauge what the group is like. Is it someone we really need to watch? Is it just some good old guys out there doing some hunting? So normally I like to watch for a while and make sure there's no violations going on, make sure they're not shooting at hawks or, whippoorwills or anything like that. And just kind of keep an eye on them. So I try to be extremely respectful of the hunt. I'm a hunter. That's my first thought is I want you to have a good time out there. Now it is my job to check you. So normally I wait for a lull in the birds. It's slowing down. You guys are packing up or something. Well, I'll come in and make contact. I'll come up. Hey, State Game Warden, how we doing today? Uh, just out checking licenses. If y'all could unload your guns, set them down for me. Do not get worked up. I mean, it's not stressful. Just unload your guns, put them down safely, just like you would any other time. I'll come up, check licenses, check your birds, and I'll check your guns for plugs. Everything goes great. We'll sit there and talk about doves. Say, yeah, I saw a bunch over here. We'll have a good, fun conversation. If you want it, I'll give you my contact info. If you see something going on, you're more than welcome to call me. Or if you have questions, call me. And that's pretty much it for a dove hunting contact. I do hundreds of them every year. Most of them are all good. Even if there is a small violation, say you shot a meadowlark instead of a dove, we can get through that. Don't try to hide. Don't, be stuffing birds back in the bushes. Because if I'm sitting there watching you and you do that and I come up and you lie to me about it, I can handle small violations. We can get through that. But if you lie to me, that's a different story. So just be honest, be truthful, and have a good time.
Just know the game warden's probably watching you for way longer than you think he is before he makes contact.
That's their job.
All right. Is morning or evening typically more productive? I don't think I've ever been on a morning dove hunt.
I've been on hundreds.
That's because I don't like to wake up early.
I'm a morning person. So it really just depends on the birds. Depending on what they're doing, if you have a good food source, they come off those roosts, they're hungry, they want to go eat. So that can be an awesome time to hunt. Now, it's probably more common to hunt in the evening just because, people are off work. It's easy to go. They don't have to get around in the dark, set up in the dark. I wouldn't say one is better than the other. Just do some scouting, pay attention to what your birds are doing, and that'll tell you. If you're out there at 7 a.m., there's not a bird in the field, but at night there's a ton of birds, we'll hunt in the evenings and vice versa. If there's a ton of birds in the morning, they're hitting that food source. In the evening, they're not. Then there you go, hunt the morning. But one is not better than the other. It just depends on the situation.
Unless you're not a morning person. And then, of course, the evenings are better, just like for me.
Yep. Another thing, while y'all are thinking of questions, so if you do find a banded dove, Oklahoma does a lot of banding, and as well as other states. There's usually, there will be a band number on there, and you can actually call in and get the history of where that bird's been. So it's pretty cool. Like I said, we had one that was down by Panama that got called in. So yeah, pretty interesting stuff. They do a lot of traveling.
Good thing too about dove hunting is, in my opinion, if I go dove hunting and I get pretty good at shooting dove out of the field, I feel pretty confident for duck season, quail, because you're really you'll get a lot of shot opportunities, but they're pretty hard to hit. They're aerial acrobats, so
they're small and fast moving.
Yeah, so if you can master dove hunting, you'd be pretty solid for any of the bigger, more slow birds that you can try to hit too. So I do love that about it. Kind of get your skills honed in before the rest of the season.
And there's nothing better than in the evening time going out to a water source dove hunting, and then also having a fishing pole with you and catch some catfish, shoot some dove at the same time. That's my favorite.
I think our favorite way to probably eat dove, and this is probably most people's favorite way, is if you stuff it with cream cheese and wrap it in bacon. Honestly,
get some peppers, some sort of pepper. If you like spicy, do spicy. Stuff them with cream cheese. I just usually kind of soak my dove breasts in just some Worcestershire sauce. They're dove are super easy to clean, not hard at all. It's hard to tell you how to do it over a video, but
that'll be something I link to. It's just a quick video.
They're not hard to clean.
You
but
literally
usually
do with your hands. You don't have to use any knives or anything.
Yeah, you just breast them out, so you get a little two breast meats off each bird about yay big. Stuff that in a pepper, wrap it in cream cheese with a jalapeno or some sort of pepper, put some bacon around it, and just grill it up, and they are fantastic.
I don't really know of another way to eat dove. You could probably fry them.
Yeah, you can cook them.
Yeah, but anything wrapped in bacon and a jalapeno and cream cheese is going to be a winner. So, all right. Have any more questions? And like I said, you guys can just ask, unmute yourselves and ask.
Yeah. And if you have questions that aren't dove hunting related too, I'm here. I can answer them or try to anyways.
Yeah, we got 20 more minutes. So either we wrap this thing up early or we can turn it into Ask the Game Warden.
All right.
Okay. Well, I will send this group all the links that I just mentioned later today, and this video itself is going to be shared on our Outdoor Oklahoma YouTube channel. It's recorded, and I will have that uploaded by tomorrow, maybe even today if it's fast enough. It kind of is a slow process, but I'll have it uploaded tomorrow, and it'll be under our Learn to Hunt virtual class playlist, and you can go find that there, along with many other videos that we have. Many other class recordings that we've had over the last couple years. So thank you guys for joining. And I hope if you guys have any more questions, feel free to email me. And I hope you guys have a great kickoff to our hunting season. And please, 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 if you guys go out and shoot some dove, send me some photos. I love seeing them. Thank you guys. Bye.
Yeah.